Well. Good evening, West Ham fans. Good late afternoon, West Ham fans. Let's talk about the academy, shall we? Yes, everybody, Russell the West Ham Network. Hope you are all safe and well. If you're new around here, give it a like, give it a comment, give it a share, and give it a bloody good subscribe. So what we do is every week, for anyone new to the channel or new to this section, is what we turn the spotlight on the academy. The academy is something which obviously West Ham fans are very proud of, and so we take this time every week to give you a bit of an update in terms of what's happened, any news, all that type of stuff. So we'll start off, in terms of how these work, we start off with like any interesting news, and then we talk about the players out on loan, the academy players, not the first team players. You can check that out at Hammer's Headlines. And then we do sort of reviews of the day of the games that have been for the 18s and the 21s over the weekend, and look forward, preview the games that are coming up as well. So that's how it works, basically. So let's start off with talking about some news. Let's talk about some news. And obviously, you know, we're out of the what's it called, the old transfer window at the moment, obviously, but there has been some interesting news developments for some of our players, and mainly surrounding this guy, Tyrone Parker, under 18s captain. And last Thursday it was a strange one, actually, because he was named in he was basically on trial at QPR. And after merging on Twitter, they announced the team for their Essex Senior Cup match against Dartford, and he was listed in there, which was a little bit surprising. And actually went on to play the full. I mean, they lost on penalties, I think, to Dartford in the Senior Cup, and Ekpata actually played the full 90 minutes. And so very much as a trial, it seemed, for QPR, but yeah, slightly strange one, left field. However, he did end up turning out for the under 18s, our under 18s this weekend, and actually captained the side. We're going to talk about that later on. So I'm not too sure what happened there. Obviously, might have been a good trial. Obviously, he didn't get subbed off. He played the full 90 minutes. And just interesting to see, you know, it's how sort of the players sort of are trialing for other clubs as well. And similar, you know, we do the same thing ourselves, really, to be honest, as well, in terms of bringing in young players and giving them a trial, you know, for some of the less important games, to sort of cut their teeth, see how they fit in and stuff like that. So we'll come back to Tyrone later on, because he was instrumental in the under-18s victory against Fulham later on. We'll talk about that. Let's go around the houses and talk about all the loans. Obviously, we've got a number of academy players out on loan. And so the idea is to give you a bit of an update of how they played, what they played, that type of thing. Callum Marshall made his debut last week against Birmingham City, came for the last 30 minutes, was an unused substitute this weekend, as the Baggies drew 2-2 away to Ipswich at Portman Road. The Baggies are now 5th in the Championship, well in the playoff places, and about 4 points clear of the 7th place outside the playoffs. Next up for them is a home match against Cardiff City on Tuesday at the Hawthorn. So maybe you might see Callum get some minutes. The Baggies themselves had a couple of injuries, particularly their forward Daryl Dyke, a guy that we were talking about years ago. I remember he returned back from injury, then got off injured again. So that might mean that Callum is up one in terms of the pecking order at West Brom now. So he might get some minutes against Cardiff City potentially. Elsewhere, what else we got? Elsewhere, who else is next? Freddy Potes. Freddy Potes, once again, a full 90 minutes under his belt for Mr. Potts Jr. As Wickham beats Peterborough at home 5-2. Freddie was booked during the game, played the full 90 minutes. Unfortunately, Gideon Cadone was not in the match day squad at all. And the Wanderers, who see themselves move up to 15th with the win. And they still got a game in hand on Wigan for 14th, and 2 games on hand on 13th on Exeter City. So well placed to start moving up the table a little bit more. But fantastic for Freddy to get another 90 minutes under his belt. He really is playing some great football, and he's revered within the Wycombe fan base. They love him. They love him there. So that's when a loan works. He's going to come back from his loan spell and would have played proper minutes under his belt, would have developed his game, would develop physically as well. And that's exactly how you need to use a loan deal in terms of, the right club, the right player, and it just works. Elsewhere, who we got? Dan Chester's. Dan Chester's went on a transfer window deadline type move to Salford on loan for the rest of the season in the League Two side. He got his first minutes. He came on as an 81st minute substitute in their 1-1 draw away to Swindon Town. It sees Salford move. So sorry, still 19th in League Two, but they're 13 points now clear of the relegation places. As I said, Dan came on for the left winger, Maya, for the last 10 minutes or so. And so it's good for him to get some minutes under his belt. And hopefully that continues with his loan spell at Salford. He's a great player, Dan. Great player. And as I said, West Ham have, Potsy converted him to more like a right wing back, and that seemed to be his position. But Salford, he's obviously come for the left winger, so more up top rather than necessarily as a wing back position. Who else we got? Kian Forson played the full 90 minutes as Dagenham Redbridge romped home 7-1 against bottom of the table Oxford City at the Chigwell Construction Centre. Kian didn't get the score sheet, unfortunately, with 7 goals. He didn't get on the score sheet, but had a hand in several of the lead-ups to the goal. And Daggers move up to 12th now in the National League. So well done to them. And another 90 minutes for Kian. Fantastic. And obviously just down the road from Rush Green as well, isn't it? So he hasn't got to move anywhere. Heggy, off the back of 3 successive clean sheets and 4 successive draws for Den Bosch. They went down 3-0 to second of the league, place in the league, Den Haag, which was a shame. Again, Heggy played the full 90 minutes for the Everderies division side, second division in Holland. And yeah, I mean, again, they're still 18th. I think they're still 18th in the league. So still in the relegation dogfight, but that comes off the back of this weekend's defeat comes off the back of 4 successive draws and 3 successive clean sheets as well for Eki. So, for his development, fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Elsewhere, what else we got? Is that it in terms of then? I think that is it in terms of the loans. As I said, go back and watch the Hammers headlines in terms of all the loans for the Premier League side, or the first team loans like Flynn Downs and Benny and people like that. Turning to the games, obviously a mixed bag this week for the under-21s and under-18s. If we start off with the under-21s and then we'll finish on a high with the under-18s result. Steve Potts' side basically went into the game against Chelsea on the back of 6 successive PL2 wins. And unfortunately, they went down at a very rainy, very dark, very cold and windy Rush Green 2-0 to Chelsea under 21s. It was a strange game if anyone went. It was a strange game. The West Ham side, had the likes of Divine and Balmer up top. For me, it was just everything. Divine touched, fell off him. He's falling over. It wasn't his game at all. In the crowd, we obviously had the first team coaches, Billy McKinley, Mark Robertson were there, as well as likes of Mark Noble and Colton Cole and people like that there as well. And a lot of former academy players, such as Lewis Page, Darren Blewett, they were all there as well in attendance. So I think they had some sort of event at Rush Green, so they were all there as well. Elsewhere, Chelsea, they had up front £16 million signing David Washington from Santos. I wonder if he played with Louise Al. I don't know. West Ham had a couple of injuries. I think Michael Forbes didn't start. They had Regan Clayton playing in the back three, who's been on the bench recently. Again, the likes of Josh Ajala wasn't playing in the under-21 squad. He played for the under-18s. It was another great game on Saturday. And it just seemed nothing clicked at all. Chelsea goals came from one from Ronnie Stutter, who was a very annoying little player all game, and a penalty taken by Leo Carstendard, with the goalkeeper Jacob Knightbridge couldn't really do much, to be honest. It was clear through. They had some very, very quick wingers and quick forwards, and I think balls over the top, ball through balls were just beating our defence for some reason. It wasn't a great game for the boys, but off the back of 6 victories, they're still well placed within the PL2. Where are they in the PL2? Actually, are they still second? Yes, they're still second. 4 points behind Spurs, but Spurs have a couple of games in hand, and we're 5 points clear of the Arsenal Academy as well, Arsenal 18s. So yeah, next up for them is is it before then? They've got Brighton and Hove Albion on the 23rd in the next round of the Premier League Invitational Cup quarterfinals. That's going to be at Rush Green. And I think Brighton are like 7th. I think they're 7th in the PL2. I'm trying to find out what the next PL2 matches are for the boys. Probably should do this before we started, but hey ho, doesn't matter. Next up, it's away to Spurs. Top of the table clash. West Ham play Spurs at the Tottenham. I think it's at Enfield. 12 o'clock kickoff at the Spurs Lodge. That's going to be a good game. A win there could really help us in terms of our PL2. Trying to get back. So we'll be 1 point behind Spurs, although they have a couple of games in hand, but still, it's all about the points on the board. It's obviously the likes of Dan Chester's and Gideon and Kian and Heggy and Marshall out on loan. We are seem a little bit stripped back, to be honest, particularly in terms of forward options. George playing more as a 10 role now, George Earthy. Some fantastic crosses from Ollie Scars on Friday. His corners were fantastic. His set plays were fantastic. His crosses in general were fantastic. But there was no one on the end, really, which surprised me. Devine had a couple of really clear-cut chances which were fluffed, to be honest. And there was still some impressive performance. Sean Moore played well again. He's had some 3 or 4 really good games in a row. Patrick Kelly in the middle, really sort of tenacious, getting stuck in there. I thought Regan Clayton played well. I thought Junior Robinson was a very good outlet on the right-hand side constantly. We've got some good players in that team. Got some good players in that team. But just wasn't a good day in the office for the under-21s. However, it was a good day for Kevin Keane's side for the under-18s as they won quite comprehensively away to Fulham, winning, well, not comprehensively, but they won 3-4, an absolute thriller at Fulham. It doesn't really work, unfortunately, at Motspur Park. They returned with that 3-4 victory. They returned to the top of the under-18s Premier League South. And I mean, for a side, I mean, to be fair, the under-18s have been very defensively strong. To have found themselves behind twice wasn't something they were used to doing, but they showed, unlike the first team, showed some real grit and resilience to get back and extend their winning league run to 6 games now, similar to the under-21s. So they've won 6 in a row now. I mean, in terms of key players, Josh Ajala, again, a couple of goals for him. As I said, Tyrone Parker, he scored from closer range as well as captaining the side. I mean, I think this season, Josh has scored 3 and 2 against Fulham. He likes scoring against Fulham. Very tricky player is Josh. Very svelte. He's tall, but he's not a big lad, if that makes sense. He's very skinny, but he's very wiry. And some great. I mean, their keeper also made some really good saves. Ajala again, Swamoni, Medine, all good shots saved by their keeper. I think his name was Kaiser. Kaiser or something like that. Dan Rigg, he was on the bench in the 21s. He played as well. Again, good. I like Dan. He's a good player. Good player. Yeah, I mean, Finley Herrick made some good saves. Worth saying that Jacob Knightbridge as well. Some of his, the under 21 goalkeeper, some of his passing was phenomenal. He is such a good passer as a goalkeeper, such a good player. But yeah, Dan Rigg scored 2 for Ajala, and Akpata scored in the 73rd minute. So great game for them. They now play Chelsea at Little Heath on Tuesday midday. So we'll let you know how that gets on this time next week. But yeah, great result for the under 21 side, under 18 side. Not so good for the under 21 side, but we'll see what happens next week. And that's it. As I said, just to give you the whole idea of this is to give you an idea of what's going on in the academy. We've got some really good players in the academy, really good guys, really good coaching staff as well. And, obviously we've got a number of players out on loan as well. But so the idea is just to put it all in a 15-minute video for you, so you know what's been going on. So, it's not all about the first team when it comes to West Ham. The academy is a huge part of what we do. And the boys have been playing very well this season. Both the 18s and the 21s. Last week, not so good for the under 21s, but much better for the 18s. Back at the top. And as I said, we're top of the Premier League South, the under 18 league, and we're second in the Premier League 2 South. And, going over to Spurs at the weekend could mean that we could be 1 point behind Spurs, albeit they have a couple of games in hand. But until then, take care, stay safe, stay warm, stay humble, keep the faith, and come on, you bloody Irons. Irons!